All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for Leap Day, February 29th, 2024. Hey, on the Patreon site, I just posted a link to the cohort for Creativity 202 course, which is going to start in the first week of April once our book club project is over. This is the last time that course will be offered at that price. It's 30 weeks long. It's the most transformative thing that we do. You'll see the testimony on the website. But spaces are limited, and I would encourage you to take a look at the sales page if you're looking for personal transformation in every type of decision that you make in your life for the rest of your life. Just saying. All right. We'll start with the 30-minute hybrid portfolio. Alcoa. I thought about this one on the gap up and then the fail. I thought about that short, didn't take it. It would have paid off, but it did give a 1, 2, 3 entry here. And this closed really well right here. And we're holding 2R, and we cleared the previous resistance. So I'm looking for a return to the 10-day high and the 5-day high. And I think that could go tomorrow. So we'll see. I just hope that you have been playing along with us in the longer term portfolios with AI, the company, which announced really good earnings, a new CFO, which the market loved, and it was up at one point 28% today, but it closed the day up 24.5%. We added a intraday swing here on the gap and go, and took another 4R out of it to go along with the longer term swing. But that one's feeling pretty good. We've been talking about this one for a long while. And that is really good news. And if it gets above 41.70, which it could tomorrow, look out above. There's nothing holding that thing back. And we got our sights, I got my sights set on 150 on this thing, but there is a price ladder that goes up to 65, 87, and 150 in its future. Their earnings are coming along. They've fixed all the problems that had been identified in the sell-off era. And you can see we're into the third wave of recovery. And even if it just gets to 45, the previous peak, that's still plenty of room to go. So that's why it's in the portfolio. And we are going to exploit the heck out of that thing. I will tell you that. Back to the 30-minute chart. Caterpillar, Emerging Dragon, Anaconda 2. I'm going to hold that one overnight. It closed pretty well, up an R, and I like it. Cliff, we got the Kata 2, and it failed for a fraction. It held support in the Dragon. I tried a 1, 2, 3 when it crossed the VWAP here, and decided to capture an R and just put something in the bank. CVS, Collapsing Dragon. It's the second day out of 3 that, or actually the second day in a row. Yesterday had this great big sell-off. This sell-off continued today, Collapsing Dragon for 3R. The recovery was nice, and so I'm not opposed to trying to trade this thing back to 75 at the Bollinger Band mean, but it's been brutalized, and therefore it is in play. Diamonds were solid, but no trade. Disney, we closed the 2-position short. This was the close yesterday. It gapped here. It ran all the way up, and I think I gave back too much, but I wanted to give it every opportunity to keep going, and had to take the exit at the VWAP. here, as you can see, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4 on the first one, 2 on the second one. So 6R, and then it's stabilized above the rising Bollinger Band mean. So I'll be ready to get back in tomorrow if that's what the price does. Devon Energy, we covered the short. We were holding a nice trade from down here, but it gapped up against us. So what are you going to do? Not the first time it's done that. Emerging markets, no trade. I missed the short. ETHE, no trade. This was a nice intraday sell-off in the currency, but not, you can't short ETH. Mexico, this gapped up, rose high, started selling off when it hit the VWAP. I got short, quick cover after the big sell-off. It was up 3R at one point. I kept one, pretty bad. I thought about the Kata 2, didn't take it. It would have paid off. I like how it closed, and so I'm thinking there's room for that to do a Kata 2 tomorrow, as long as it stays above 65.25, which is the Bollinger Band mean and the VWAP from today. So that's going to be a key price level. Brazil, tried the gap and drop short. It just ground sideways for a couple hours and had to bail. Nothing. Intel, Intel, gap and go when it crossed the Bollinger Band mean, cashed an R in the usual way at the edge of the dragon. IP, tried the gap and go. It ran all the way to the top. I had to sell here to capture 1R just above the VWAP, and then stabilized at this price all day. So I'm looking for a continuation tomorrow. IYR, gap and go, which scratched. I thought about the 1, 2, 3 entry here. There was enough time in the day that I didn't take it, and it paid off. Coca-Cola, no trade, showing weakness. KRE was a big gap up, harsh sell-off when it crossed below the VWAP. I got short in the usual way. It sold off, held support at the PSAR, came back to the Bollinger Band mean, cashed an R in the usual way. McDonald's, missed the gap and drop. China, no trade. Merck, I tried the gap and drop and lost an R. I re-entered on the short when it broke through the PSAR a second time and picked an R back up, so we netted 0 for the day. The revenge trade is alive and well. Microsoft, finally a Kata 2 that I could trade. It was across the VWAP, standard risk, and it blew up in the last half hour to give us 3R in the close, and I'm holding that thing because it's north of the previous peak, and that feels like the resurgence of tech tomorrow on a Friday. Meanwhile, marijuana, our #1 trading value symbol, because of the reliable large intraday directional moves, gapped up, sold off, came through the PSAR and the Bollinger Band mean, where I get short with the standard risk, cash 3R, almost 4R by the close. That's a routine trade in marijuana. MSOS. Nike, 1R on the collapsing dragon. NVIDIA, no trade. Clean energy, no trade. I missed this one short, but I was fully engaged with the other shorts. Palantir, I like the recovery in the afternoon, didn't trade it, but that has a chance to really go tomorrow if tech follows through. Rivian, no trade. The S&P had a nice little dip and then recovery with a powerful move at the end to push within spitting distance of the all-time high. Look for that to break out on Friday. Treasuries also recovered oddly. Can't even predict that. Tesla, I got the 1, 2, 3 entry after missing a nice 2-day short for a fraction. Look for that to follow through tomorrow as well. Walmart, I closed the long position. We waited and waited and waited for this to work. It never did. Today it broke down at the open. So we just bailed and captured 1R. It sold off and closed weekly. It did not participate in that strong afternoon move in the S&P. The fact that it was failing big time while the S&P was recovering big time is a worrisome note for Walmart for tomorrow, which makes it tradable. And then finally, U.S. Steel maintains a nice solid sideways compression zone. It's going to be ready for a breakout in either direction tomorrow. This is some work I'm doing with the True Storytelling Institute. They got their trademark approved at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office tomorrow. And I'm working on this one, which examines the relationship when two worlds collide at the frontier between Western ways of knowledge and the scientific method and in indigenous ways of knowledge and story thinking. Each possesses sacred knowledge on the inside. They have a core of sacred knowledge that is the way they internally operate. There is a visible external public routine manifestation in the world that other people from outside of their tradition can see. And then you can see some of that as they are performing their daily work, some of that becomes visible at the boundary of each of those worlds. And in this space between those worlds, where worlds collide, then you have external members of each of those traditions peeking over the fence to see what they can see. And this is where the collaboration occurs between the scientific method and Western ways of knowledge and the storytelling sacred traditions of indigenous ways of knowledge. And that's the space I live in true storytelling and story science. That's exactly where that creative space lives. And in that space, there is an enormous amount of potential energy, hope, powerful incentives and motivations to go and do well. This space in the middle, how you describe the intersections of those two sometimes competing, sometimes reinforcing worldviews is really a reflection on you and what you think about chaos and tension. It should be an attitude, I think. It can be a description of what's going on. You can classify it as a noun. You can describe the actions and the verbs. You can qualify it and quantify it with adjectives that describe what's going on. You can experience it as a feeling, and you can recognize that it is one of the most powerful moments available to us in the present to be able to make transformative change in the world when we're able to integrate both of those points of view. And that's what the Creativity 202 course is all about. I encourage you to try it on. Get it while you can. That's another way of saying that. Because I'm doing weekly coaching in those accountability sessions, and that puts a premium on my time. Here's the trademark from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Well done to the boss, Dr. David Boji. Well, this is Alcoa on the sniper trade of the day. This is an opportunity trade. Had a lot of things going on in those big run-ups and sell-offs. Alcoa was not even as in play as some of those other ones, but I did notice this. And then as it came into the lunch hour, I noticed that it had this series of descending lows and then a perfect range compression in here and one final sell-off, and then an SSC as it crossed the Bollinger Band mean with my first target at the VWAP, which it hit, which I took. And then when it did not fail and simply resumed, we would call that a cotta 2 or an emerging dragon, which scratched, but then another cotta 2, which paid off for an additional 3R plus 2R. So that's 5R in Alcoa. And all it did was oscillate up, down, up, and down, the same way it always does, which is why we love some Alcoa. Whereas Cliff, also in the metals and mining space, stop me if you've heard this before. It sold off, it gapped up, came through the compression zone here, emerging dragon, PSAR flip, buy it, standard risk. There's your R10 wiggle. That's a signal that it's going. It rolls over. I take the PSAR exit at 3R. There's 1 unit of risk, 1, 2, 3 units of reward. It sells off into the lunchtime, just like Alcoa. It gives me a cotta 2 as it crosses the VWAP, and after it had crossed the Bollinger Band mean, and 1 standard unit of risk. It's the same one, and this thing rolls hard. That little R10 wiggle is a signal there's more room to go. So you keep going, and you take the PSAR exit near the close, and you pick up another 4R to go along with your 3R, and that's 7R in Cliff, plus 6R in Alcoa, and the metals were very, very good to us today. That's why we trade them. This is Walmart. This behaved opposite of the S&P. Here's the close, and here was the disappointing gap down. Remember, we had been long on this thing and we're hoping for it to break out of the sideways quiet channel, but it did not. Instead, it broke down, and this is where we exited that multi-day swing trade, and we took the little revenge trade on the intraday, standard risk. It dropped like a stone. When the R10 reversed, I take the exit. Why do I take the exit there? Because this is Walmart and has been very strong, and I got a chance to collect 3R in the first 30 minutes. That's why I would exit that. It decays a little bit longer. I get an SSC for a half an R, and then there was just nothing. I like the neglect around Walmart. So any break north of 59 tomorrow, and I'll be long in a New York minute. I'll also be short if it falls below 58.75, because why not? Let's take a look at the traders today. Here's Hamad. Here's where he starts trading. We sure wish we could have been around for that. He gets a nice chop. When this breaks down below the collapsing dragon, he goes for the short. I like the stop and reverse. I like the second stop and reverse. This thing bottom ticked him, and he wanted to get paid. So he misses this move, and then unfortunately stopped trading here because this lower high, this is the pattern you want, by the way. Just commit this one to memory. When you have a big sell-off and then a chop, then leg 1, 2, 3, when you see that sideways get a lower high and the Bollinger Band mean is failing, That's your short. That's the mother of all shorts right there. And that's your collapsing dragon would be here. This would be a kata 2 to the downside. That would be your collapsing dragon. I'm not I'm not upset by this one. I'm just, what we want to do is learn from the moves. Crushes it in the Euro Aussie, which paid for all that. That afternoon move here was available as well. There just wasn't anything available here in AI. This was after the big breakout. It was worth a shot. Here's an R in Cliff in the usual way. I like that short when it crosses the VWAP twice. And I love this one as it breaks out of the sideways quiet channel. And oh my goodness, if we could get one more, I mean, this was 4, I think, very carefully managed trades. You know, 1, 2, 3, all traded in the usual way. The one that was missing was the one that had the massive move. The re-entry, failure to fail, resumption of the trend after holding support at the Bollinger Band or at the VWAP. 2.2 in AMD crushes it. This stop and reverse here is sublime. And I want you to notice he's taking advantage of the 2-leg rule where, you know, you get this one. So he gets long here. Here's leg 1, pause, leg 2, pause. You see leg 1, hopefully you get it. And you really want to get leg 2. And leg 3, you never know. This one didn't really pay off. So nice work from Ahmad today on that one. Scratching around in NVIDIA, which is still digesting that great big gains that it made earlier. Satya continues to crush AMD. This is one that I would draw your attention to. Might want to just watch that little R10 wiggle and go. That's a potential. You're already close to 2R in hand. This one here, notice the sideways chop and then the breakout. That's a candidate for the second position. But I'm not going to argue with a guy that brings 5.50. And NVIDIA, he's able to squeeze 0.7 out of it. I really like this 1, 2, 3 entry. When you have this, it takes a fine-tuned lens to be able to see this one. Harsh sell-off, 1, 2, 3, which exits here, and maybe you can get that, but that's still pretty good right there. This one, I think when you see, that's like a bottoming tail. And if you take your wrist box off the bottom, you might end up getting a just slightly better exit on a money management stop inside that one. But really nice work today, all the way across the board. Okay. It's going to cooperate today, guys. All right, the 150-day look back, looking solid, all-time high, 510. Watch for some joyful news tomorrow, and let's see what they want to hold over the weekend. Tomorrow, I think, is a trader's delight. The 30 days looking good. The 30-minute shows the big run up at the end of the day. We're back in business with overbought. The volatility is still pointing the way up. We're only in the yellow now on the risk Z, so that's improving. Still bullish, strong on the ADX. Big wins in Home Depot continues. JP Morgan continue. Why don't I have those in the portfolio for this hybrid swing? Just, God, I don't even want to look at them. Okay, I'm going to look at them because this is going to fill me with all kinds of regret. Home Depot. Oh, man. God bless America. That's a 30% move from there. That's 1.5 times better than the S&P. I need to have my head examined. Been squirreling around with like CVS and missed Home Depot completely. And JP Morgan, the same thing. Wake up, dummy. God, that's a 50% move from 130 to 190. Oh, forgiveness and gratitude, I suppose. God, I can't even think straight. Well, we'll get them tomorrow. Mid caps, materials, that's where that metals and mining, and here's XLY discretionary, all looking good. Cisco, Brazil, Intel, all shaping up for a nice auto framer. Squeezes in IBM, Cisco, energy. Summer continuing to dominate, although fall is now coming on hard. Mostly haves today, the haves, and only a couple have nots. Latin America, healthcare, Pfizer, Merck, Coke, McDonald's, and Walmart. That is such an extraordinary condition. You don't even have to have an explanation why to know that that just isn't right. Either all of this in the market was excess enthusiasm and Walmart is correct, the Walmart traders, or this is a buy on dip opportunity that we haven't seen for a while in McDonald's. So price will tell us tomorrow what that is. And then huge payoffs in all the globals. The tradables, marijuana, Tesla, clean energy, Devon, Intel, NVIDIA, metals and mining, and lithium. There's JP Morgan. Where's Home? If Home Depot's on here, I'm just going to be screaming. Look at that. God bless. Yeah. No excuse. We just got to do better. And when I say we, I mean me. Here's SOUN from my brother. See what he has to say. Breakout from the sideways quiet channel in the usual way on the daily charts to our battle drill automatic add. Nice sideways quiet channel, which did not break and broke to the upside. So he adds another one automatically at the 4-hour battle drill. And then when the doji breaks, he takes that one to give only back one unit of risk on 3 positions, but he's able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, and 2. So 12R, and now he's watching for the breakout back to the upside. And this is SoundHound AI in the AI space.
Aligned with NVIDIA.
Yep.
They just signed a big contract with them to do all their speech to text for all their AI.
And off they go. They're going to be making AI end items. At some point, they've got all that, you can buy all the other components
Yep.
and then supercharge their with their chips and processing boards, and now getting some technical expertise there in the vocal area. Holy
Yep.
smokes.
Another one to watch in the
Why
background
don't they
there.
just, I bet you they just buy them. They ought to just buy them.
Yeah, they will.
That's probably what.
And then Big Bear AI Holdings, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're back at the $3 level.
Yeah.
I would feel
We
criminal
probably need
if I
an
wasn't.
AI subset just to keep track of these.
Okay.
All right, fellas, that's everything for tonight. We'll get this published and posted. And again, I'm telling you, the Creativity 202 course is the opportunity of a lifetime. And it's not just for trading. Read what Jeff Southern wrote about it. And Jeff is not easily impressed. He's the senior maintenance test pilot for the state of Texas in their firefighting aviation crews, the guys that fly airplanes into forest fires to drop chemicals. And he says it's the most transformative thing he's ever done, and the best thing he's done professionally in the last 10 years. Don't take my word for it. Slots are limited and going fast. Take good care.